Hey, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Or good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thanks for joining me today on another live stream. This is the early edition for me, anyway. It's about, oh my God, it's 7:07. I'm so sorry. I started so late again. I'm still struggling. I don't know why. Like I said, it's like no matter how hard I try, my sleep schedule keeps shifting back, to getting up at 8, 9 o'clock instead of like I'm trying to shift it so I can get up between 5 and 6 a.m. I saw a video. I forget who it is. He's pretty big on YouTube though, but he had a video where he got up at 4 a.m. every morning for 30 days or something. He does a lot of things like that. And he was able to go to bed and keep that schedule for 30 days, and he found he was much more productive and got a lot more done. And I'd have to say, even just getting up a couple hours early, I do feel more productive. I mean, I don't know if ultimately I'm actually getting more done, but it does feel better. um, but as always, I'm always grateful for everyone that joins me on my live streams. I'm here to answer any questions I can about Olympus cameras, Olympus Workspace, photography in general. Mostly for beginners, but there's so many of you have so much experience, and I'm very grateful that you join in and participate as well. So let's see who's here. We have Roberto, hi, and David and John Softly, good to see you. And Deb from Melbourne, awesome. Andy, good to see you from the Philippines. Wow, and Jeff Painter, hi. Michael Voy, good morning. Yeah, 4 a.m. in California. I didn't think I'd get anybody from California here except the other crazy people that have to. You probably have to get up at 4 in the morning just to deal with traffic, right? Because I hear it's really bad over there. Not that it's great here in the DC area, but the funny thing about California, I always hear about how you have 10 different ways to get to the same place, right? Because there's so many roads. And when people give you directions, they just give you these really convoluted directions, 10 different streets just to get to this one place. Whereas here in the DC area, it's very compact, right? We don't have a lot of real estate, so there's usually like one bridge that we have to cross all the time, or one exit to get into town. There's not a lot of options, so it just feels worse. I don't know if technically it's worse or better, but they're both always in the top 5, right? DC area and California. And Peter, it's 6:15, and good morning, Jeff. Oh, Peter, you're out in Thailand as well. 5:45. I'm sorry, you said 6:15. Yeah, it's getting late. And oh, hey, Levante, how are you? And Rob shoots photos. Good morning. And Sacramento, it's not complicated, just smoky. Wow. Sacramento. I've only been to California a few times. Back when I did my other business, and then I have some family there as well, but they usually come out here more often than I go there. Oh, PK, good morning. I was wondering, actually, somebody asked me in my forum today, who is Sephron? He's normally in the streams, but this night might be too early for him or her. But they were asking, using 4/3 lenses, not the micro 4/3, but the DSLR 4/3 lenses from Olympus on, like, say, the EM5 Mark III or the EM1 Mark II and Mark III, because they were originally using them on their Mark 1, EM1 Mark 1, and they were wondering how they work on Panasonics, because he was having trouble on his Panasonic camera. And the first thing that came to mind is that the Olympus cameras, those particular models have phase detect, autofocus, and those lenses were designed to work with phase detect. And the adapter for the 4/3 to micro 4/3 I guess takes advantage of that somehow. I don't know how all the electronics work, but you know, clearly Panasonic doesn't use phase detect autofocus. So my assumption would be it works fine. And there's another viewer here that comes here pretty regular, Bob Tishmarsh, that uses a 12 to 50, but I can't remember what camera he uses. I think it's an EM1 Mark II with that lens. So I was just curious if anyone has any experience with that, if they've had any problems. So probably on Thursday's stream, I'll have to ask. That's when they're usually there. He's usually there. Anyway, I'm drinking iced coffee today. And then Davis says, yes, DC has the worst traffic in the U.S. Route 66 is the worst highway. Really? The worst? Wow. I knew it was bad, but yeah, it's just so bad. I couldn't, thankfully, I don't have to deal with it too much. You know, anymore. I used to drive that route all the time when I had a client out there. You know, it wasn't even photography related. But I went there on a project and oh my god, it was terrible. And then Rob says, you're thinking about the shotgun mic you want. Which one are you thinking about getting? Because a good person to ask is Curtis Judd, right? If you haven't watched any of his videos, Curtis Judd is really good at reviewing shotgun mics, because that's what he uses a lot. And I did have a list of shotgun mics in my shopping cart, but after a while I decided that, God, you know, I don't really want to spend $300-400 on a microphone right now. Oh, sorry, well, I still clean out some of the sleep from my eyes. I've been up since 6 o'clock. I mean, I set the alarm because I went to bed kind of late. I was binge watching on Karate Kid on Netflix now. They put Karate Kid, not Karate Kid, it's called Cobra Kai. Finished 2 seasons. Took me 2 days, but I finished 2 seasons. I should be making videos, right? But I don't know. I just started watching and I was like getting all nostalgic about the 80s. Because I was about the same age, you know, or I was that age, right? High school in the 80s. And Andy says, I just got my EM1 Mark III. Finally, what settings would you recommend for fast CAF and video? Oh, okay. By fast, you mean needing it to change very quickly from point to point. There are settings. Oh, I'm charging the battery now. Let me see if I have a battery here. Hopefully this one has a charge. I have 3 original batteries, and that's it for my EM1s. One is totally dead and charging right now. The other one I'm using, this one was just in my bag, so hopefully it has a charge. Yeah. Alright, so let me go into video mode. Let me go into the movie menu, autofocus settings. But yeah, in the video, or in the menu, right? I'm using the kit lens today. It's hard to see. Hold on. Darken this down. So first go into the video menu, right? Just ignore the green screen. And then you go into AF, the third line item here, the autofocus menu. And then once you're in here, right? How come there's AF mode, right? So you're in CAF. These are the settings I use normally, and these work fine. I just put AF speed to 0, but you can go in and crank that up a notch there, and you can crank this up ±1 a notch. So just try +1 on both of those and see how that performs for you if you like the action. I believe the AF speed is more to your question about how quickly is it going to change from one point to the next. So you can turn that to try to focus quickly from point A to point B, and then AF sensitivity is related to detecting the object from front to back. So when you change from point A to point B, how quickly does it decide to change? So I know that sounds almost like the same thing, but it's a little bit different. The sensitivity is more like changing directions. If you think about it, like if you're driving, it's like changing directions. Sensitivity is like changing directions, right, in your car. And then AF speed is how quickly you're actually driving, your actual speed of your car. So if you want to focus very quickly back and forth, you change the speed with AF speed. And if you want to change how quickly the direction of the focus, meaning when does it decide to shift from point A to point B, you would adjust the sensitivity. It's not a great analogy, but that's best I can come up with on short notice. Oh, Jean-Marc, good to see you. And Rob says the 14 to 54 millimeter works very good with the M5 III. It keeps up at 6 frames per second. It's actually a bit brighter lens when you compare side by side with 12 to 40 and pretty close to the same sharpness. Oh, okay, thanks. Thank you, Rob. I'm sure, Stefan, I will pass that along. Actually, I better cut and paste this. Because he asked me in my forum, you know, who is Stefan asked me in the forum. You can actually go to the forum and post to him directly if you want, but I cut and paste that answer. I'm going to share that. Oh, Stefan is here. Okay, good. So I don't have to post it in the forum now, so you got your answer partially. I'll ask again, though. Like I was saying, Bob Tishmarsh is actually a big-time user of 4/3 lenses, too. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Andy. Rob Shoots Photos is asking, on Lightroom, the old 40/3s 14 to 54 is about 0.91 brighter than the 12 to 40. Wide open, it's a bit punchier, and once you get closed down, the 12 to 40 to f5.6, they almost look exactly the same. Man, you guys are really granular with your... Oh, I just saw myself in the camera. Oh. Anyway, sorry. You guys might not be able to tell, but, you know, I look at my own face all day, right? So it's like, I feel, I'm a mess. Anyhow, yeah, man, if you're able to tell the difference between like 0.19 brighter, that's, if you mean 0.19 stops, I mean, that's really specific. But I've seen 4/3 lenses at the local camera store time to time. But I'd like to find an old Olympus like E330 camera. They're a little harder to come by than, say, the E550s and stuff, but the E330s had the old Kodak sensor in them, or made by Kodak, a sensor, which was supposed to try to duplicate film as closely as possible. And I was thinking, who would know better than Kodak, right? Of course, they could have been horrible engineers and didn't even come close, but still, the thought of that is interesting. You should see my face in the early morning. Yeah. Excuse me. Oh, I feel like I need to do one of those, like what those singers do, where they do these mouth exercises before they start singing. I need to do that before I do a stream, because I feel all like I haven't done my stretches and everything today. Maybe I should start doing Karate Kid stuff, right? You know, Miyagi, Miyagi Do, or Cobra Kai. You know, that'll get your heart going in the morning. I was just thinking about it this morning. There's a friend of mine that she loves to run, and we used to compete. Not compete, but we would motivate each other to go out every morning and run. And we were doing 15 to 20 miles a week, give or take, cumulatively. But what was really amazing is she would do it twice a day, whereas I could only do it once a day. So she'd work out at least twice a day. You know, run in the morning like I would do, and then she'd go to the gym later in the afternoon. It's very, very fit. And I just saw a post recently from her. You know, I haven't been. It's been about 5 years since we've done that. But she did. She's still running like, you know, I don't know, 2 minute mile. Not 2 minute. She's still running like, you know, 5 minute miles, 4 minute miles, over 2 or 3 miles. You know, like that would be like sprinting for me for about 100 yards. I might be able to do that, but I can't do that for miles. I don't think I could even walk a few miles anymore. Kind of sad how quickly your body just falls apart when you stop exercising. And then it takes years to kind of get back to that point, right? Ah, Jacques, good to see you. Quinn, hi. And Roberto says, you're in the office early before Maurice. Yeah. Gosh, that was which one was Maurice? That was the guy that sits right behind my head here, right? What is that name? I forget which one is Maurice. Is that his middle name or something? Yeah, you just use the sliders, Rob, and match the histograms. I guess that works, right? I'm usually looking at the picture. I don't use histograms too much. The nerdy one. I'm drawing a blank on all their names. I love this show. I haven't watched it in a little while. I forget. Moss. Thank you, Moss. And what's the guy that sits over here? Roy, right? There's Roy, there's Moss, and then Elaine, I think, was the lady's name. Do you think Olympus Workspace will ever be upgraded to a higher level photo editor? I doubt it. I doubt it. Oh, it's Jane. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Jane. Jen. Yeah, Jen, Ross, and Moy. And what was their crazy boss's name? Yeah, John, I doubt it. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I feel like Olympus Workspace was kind of I mean, it's so much better than most other camera companies give you to edit their software. But I feel like it was not done. They could have done better, you know, a lot better with it if they were going to do it at all. I'm glad they gave us what they did. I'm trying to think, because they use it now to update the cameras, which Elaine was having a problem with that I got to look into. But since they've integrated the updating part of it into the software, they may have a team dedicated to that software, in which case they will continue developing it, you know, if it ever transfers over to JIP, assuming everything stays in place. So in that sense, I have a little hope that it might continue on and get improvements. But it's so brutally slow. They need a team to work on the speed of the software, because I feel like all they did was recompile what they do in their cameras to allow it to work on computers instead of their software in the camera. And in that translation from, the CPU in the cameras to CPUs that are like in our computers, there's a lot of inefficiencies there, and that's what's dragging that software down in processing. So they need a team really just dedicated to improving the speed of the software, and then they can start adding additional features. But as it is, it feels like it's just a dump from the camera software onto a PC platform. And they didn't really do too many optimizations or enough optimizations to make it run efficiently. So I feel like I think their intent was to improve it over the time, but it's hard to say now that we have this transition going on. I mean, that's my logic anyway, right? For any improvements on Olympus Workspace. Oh, from Trinidad and Tobago. Hello, Marcus. Yeah, I think so, John. The right team would get that software. So they basically have to decompile the code, right? I mean, I'm not sure how that works exactly, because they use some sort of code editor to create the software in the cameras, and they just compile it down to the machine code of the camera versus compiling it to the machine code of the laptops, right? It'd be interesting. All of that is so top secret though, right? What chipsets do they use in the cameras? Like when you buy a cell phone, they tell you, yeah, this is a Snapdragon 835 or 845, or this is an Equinus or whatever. They tell you exactly what processor you're getting, and you can look up the specs of that processor and the RAM they use, and computers, you can go even more granular to the chipsets on the motherboard. But on a camera, they just say, yeah, we're using the TruePic 9, we're using the Canon, whatever, I forget what they call theirs, and Nikon X-Speed 4 or 5 or whatever number they're up to now. So, but cameras, it's like top secret. You have no idea what kind of processor is in the camera. They just tell you it's 20% faster than our previous version. I'm like, well, that's great, but 20, it's all relative. 20% faster than, say, versus a Nikon processor. I mean, I guess it's irrelevant in cameras whether or not the one processor is faster than the other. Anyway, and Marcus is saying, hey Rob, love your work. Can you do a tutorial on Milky Way photography? I cannot really. I can try. It's not really my area. Because there's a lot of variables in Milky Way photography. The hardest one being is getting to a place where there's very little light pollution. Because the Milky Way, the stars are so dim. Because you take the brightest star, like the North Star, right? You can almost capture the North Star no matter where you are on the planet. But then there's, billions and billions of other stars that are so dim that the light pollution in the Earth, where I live anyway, just drowns those out. So, it's a minimum 2-3 hour drive out to maybe Shenandoah or a little bit west of that to West Virginia for me to get to an area where there's as little light pollution as possible. And it's a minimum 5 or 6 hour drive, if not more, to the darkest place on the East Coast, up in Pennsylvania, I believe. David Crooks probably knows. But anyway, so light pollution is one issue for me, or one challenge for me. And then the more significant problem is the post-processing involved, because astrophotography is like 90% post-processing, right? You can take a picture, you know, they have standards for taking pictures of the Milky Way in terms of exposure, you know, and they have calculators for it. So depending on your focal length, your pixel pitch, and your ISO, your aperture, you know, all your settings, right? But you have to throw in with photography or with astrophotography, you have to throw in the field of view, or the millimeters of the lens, the focal length. I'm sorry. Wow, it's so early. The focal length of the lens and the pixel pitch of your sensor, in addition to aperture, ISO, and shutter speed, to calculate the exposure. And there's apps for that, right? So you put all that information in. It tells you, okay, set your exposure for this based on these parameters, and you take the picture. And sometimes you have to do that, you know, 30, 40 times, and then you stack those images together, and you have to do alignment. So it's a lot of work. I think it's worth it, though. I'd love to do it more often, but I can't go out, drive out 3-4 hours every time I want to go do astrophotography. So that's my biggest challenge, is distance. And then the second challenge is there's so many steps involved to get a good picture of the Milky Way. It's very hard to get it in one shot, unless you're in an extremely low light pollution area. And there's a lot of good tutorials online already. They're not specific to Olympus cameras, but there is one Olympus visionary that's does astrophotography. I can't think of his name now. He specializes in it. But of course, you know, a lot of the tutorials that I see online are pretty thin. You know, there's too many missing steps, right? Okay, so I will try. Next time I have the opportunity to go out at night, I've been promising that for 3 years now, right? Everybody's asking me, go do astrophotography, and just the opportunity to do it, because not only is it 3-4 hours away, that has to be in sync with my schedule and the weather, right? The weather has to be clear. The schedule, you know, I can't have any jobs lined up, right? Because it's basically a 2-3 night stay if I do it. In addition to that, it has to be a time when there's no moon, right? Because the moon will drown out. It's just another source of light pollution, you know? So you have to have like a clear sky with no moon, a clear sky with good weather. It has to be in my schedule. And then all of that, there's one more thing. So yeah, well, anyway, you get the idea. Astrophotography for me is challenging logistically, more so than it is technically, right? Because I could do it. I have all the basic skill sets to do it, and the camera and the lenses, and I just, the logistics of it are a little bit tricky. And Rob says, Workspace drives me bonkers. I feel like I know if an image is sharp, then I realize for some reason it's hasn't fit. Yeah, I know it's brutal sometimes. I mean, my new computer is helping. Actually, I need to adjust this real quick. I should have got a you know, I'm thinking back now. I like this laptop, but I'm thinking I should have got a desktop. Yes, John says there's excellent astrophotography software out there, and most are free. That's true. Once you start getting into it, I think there's a guy on YouTube. I mean, there's several, but the one guy I used to watch was like Backyard Astrophotographer. Search for that on the channel or on YouTube. Let me take a quick look. Backyard Astro. Oh, Backyard Astronomy. Let me try that. Let me see if that's the guy. Yeah, this is the guy, Astro Backyard. So, this guy right here. Um, check out his channel. He has a lot of stuff, and he was, if I remember, he was very entertaining. I haven't watched it in a long time. Like I said, there's a lot of good channels out there, but this is one I used to watch. And Peter Zelinka is excellent. Okay, good to know. And Mark's asking, what's the best way to clean your lens? Ooh, you know, I'd have to. I just use a microfiber cloth, uh, which some people don't recommend because you have oils on your hand that get onto the microfiber cloth that get onto the lens, right? So I can't really give advice on cleaning lenses, but that's what I do, but I don't recommend it for because I'm not because lenses have these coatings on them, right? And you can see on very old lenses that people that didn't properly clean their lenses, the coatings are worn off. And I watched a video by the angry photographer because he claims to like know how to clean lenses. And he would use a Q-tip with some distilled water. And I believe he also used rubbing alcohol. I can't remember. Uh, and it seems legit to me. That's how you clean lenses, but I don't know, honestly. But I used to do it the way he recommended. And it seems to be fine, but I can't tell you if it's good or bad for your lens or not. I just know that's what I did once, is you get a little cotton Q-tip with some distilled water and you clean the lens. So when you ask me what's the very best way, that's the only one I've ever tried, and I haven't done that in a long time. I just use a microfiber cloth, but that has its problems too. And you made such a good job of a recent Astro image. I've looked at loads of videos showing editing, and yours was much quicker and better. Oh, oh, that one that I did quickly in one of the live streams, using Lightroom. Yeah. Well, that's more of a that's more about me just being good with a photo editor versus me knowing much about astrophotography. But when I look at an astrophotography image, you know, I think about the light in the image, and I know how dim stars are relative to normal light. And then I don't know, I just got a feel for it when I got into it. And you know, and astrophotography is kind of a mixture of high contrast versus low contrast at the same time, because the Milky Way itself is very low contrast, but then the stars and the black sky is very high contrast. So those two things, so it you know, keeping those things in mind, you know, I adjust the sliders until I see what looks pretty decent. It would be hard for me to make a tutorial. I guess I could give you my thought process when I was editing the Astro picture, because there's not any direct, there's not like a single way to do the photo the same way every time. Every photo is going to be a little different. But then they're all the same. You have those same issues, low contrast, high contrast mixed together. And then you have colors that you have to worry about, because stars all have different colors. And then you have the foreground. If you're, depending how much light pollution there is, the foreground can be overexposed. So you need to add gradients. And yeah, it gets complicated. But yeah, I was able to do it quickly just because I got a feel for editing now. And that's because I do these live stream editings 3 times a week now. So I get lots of practice, right? And I see what happens when I move a slider. And that's, I guess that's the old adage, you know, it's 90% perspiration, 10% inspiration. You know, it just takes work and practice to kind of get a feel for things. Photos asking, what's my opinion of the 12 to 45 f4? I haven't even seen that lens in real life. I've only seen videos of it. Uh, it's not a lens I'm gonna get because I have a 12 to 40 Pro. But what I do like about the Pro line of lenses, and that lens in particular is, you know, it is smaller and more lightweight than the 12 to 40 f2.8, and it has the same close focusing distance, which I really like. So I think for the physical qualities and the technical qualities of it, I like those aspects of it, and it's still weather sealed. What what I can't answer to is actually how sharp it is, or actually how good it is optically. I assume it's very good because all the Olympus lenses are very good, and I wouldn't hesitate to buy an Olympus lens ever. Uh, so if we make the assumption that the optics are very good, I do like the other qualities of it being smaller, lighter, weather sealed, and the close focusing distance, the technical aspects of it. But the main reason I don't have it is because I already have a 12 to 40 Pro lens, and I get by. It's a bit bulky, you know, on for me on a camera, meaning it's just I don't use it very often, and I don't know if getting a 12 to 45 would change that much. You know, when I'm very content with these little kit lenses like the 12 to 32, because I'm already at f3.5 wide open, and then it goes to f5.6 or something. What does it go to? Yeah, it goes up to f5.6, so it's only a stop slower than a 12 to 40 Pro lens, right? The f4. So optically or technically, there's not a lot of difference, and I found this lens to be very, very sharp. And it weighs nothing. It's like 80 grams versus, you know, maybe 250 grams of the other lens. So that basically sums it up why I will probably never buy such a lens, the 12 to 45 f4. Because I'm really content with kit lenses. This doesn't have the close focusing distance of that lens, so it is a little bit limiting in that sense, and that's why I take out my 12 to 40 Pro when I know I'm going to be doing more close-up shots like flowers and mushrooms and bugs. I prefer the 12 to 40 because I can get closer. That's something I can't really do with this lens or even the Olympus kit lens. So when I think about lenses, when it comes to Olympus, really any company now, they all make decent lenses. I think more about the focal length and the technical qualities of it, not so much the optical, because I can assume the optical is going to be pretty good. And Hornet says, I look a bit tired. Yeah, it's early for me. I'm not sitting up straight. I just pulled this shirt off the rack, or off the hanger. I didn't even get the chance to iron it, so my clothes are tired. I look tired. And like I said, I stayed up till about 1 o'clock in the morning. I only got about 5 hours of sleep. Uh, Binge watching Cobra Kai. Only use one side of your microfiber cloth and was regular. Okay, Jeff Painter says only use one side. I don't know how you do that. I guess if there's print on one side of the microfiber, you can tell which side is which, but the problem with microfiber is, you know, you should put it in a plastic bag that's clean instead of just throwing it back in your bag or in your pocket like I do, because then it could pick up potentially particles that could scratch your lens, and then you start rubbing that on your lens, right? A wash regularly. Okay, got it. And good morning, Commodore. Good to see you. And then Marcus Prime is asking, how about showing us some macro work sometime? I assume you meant macro, not Marco. I have a few videos on macro. Not hardcore macro like Robin Wong, but I use extension tubes, so I have done that. I haven't done anything recently. Because macro work is hard too, right? And I don't have a true macro lens for Olympus, so that's why I don't really have any videos. If I ever buy the 60mm macro lens, or maybe the 100mm that's supposed to be coming out, I'll definitely make some macro photography videos. But for now, I have a few videos on with extension tubes, which, you know, the results are pretty good. And Rob Shoots Photo says, they really hyped up the 12 to 45 for minimum focus distance, but the 12 to 40 does almost just as good. There are also good deals on used 12 to 40 for as much or less than the 12 to 45. Yeah, the lenses are pretty comparably priced. You're really just buying the form factor, right? Do you want a smaller, lighter lens with the same qualities, or do you want a faster lens, right? It's a compromise either way. I'd probably recommend most people get the 12 to 40 Pro f2.8 over the 12 to 45 for that extra stop of light, because that does make a difference. But you know, if you just want something smaller, lighter, and that extra stop is not too critical. It's more critical for me because of video work. But I think for photography, it's not that much difference going from f2.8 to f4. Like I said, I use these kit lenses all the time. You know, both personally and professionally. I actually use this lens for mostly outdoor shots, and I do it for a few indoor shots. Because I use a flash indoors, so the lower aperture, or yeah, the lower. I always get confused, but you know, being at f3.5 or f4 doesn't really matter because I'm usually shooting at f5.6, so I get that wider depth of field. I just realized I didn't shave either. I might have to shave before the stream starts at 8:30. Just not groomed very well today for the stream. Sorry, guys. I did comb my hair, at least, what little left of it. John says, I have a Canon MPE 65 macro lens, which is manual focus lens, allowing 5 to 1. Wow. That's amazing. 5 to 1. I never heard of such a lens. $1,000. I'm looking at it here. That's probably for a used one. Who is B&H? No, that's brand new. Wow, that's crazy. Look at that. Oh, see, there you go. And that's the thing with extension with macro lenses. That's why they're so long. They basically, the extension tubes are built in, right? I mean, that's a oversimplification of a real macro lens. But macro lenses are really long because they're basically, you know, extension tubes built in, kind of like they have the telephoto lenses with the built-in teleconverters. And then they have faster lenses that basically have the focal reducers built in. Wow, that's crazy. That is a crazy lens. Yeah, that's a microscope. Man, 5 to 1. Three macro of tiny fungi. Yeah, because my God, you'd have to be on a very stable, like a concrete floor with really solid tables. Like nothing can move. You know, nothing can move. Like you're gonna have to be on silent shutter. I can imagine that's like That takes some extreme measures to get something 5 to 1. Like that's why these microscopes, are so big and heavy. The high magnification ones, so big and heavy and solid metal, because not a thing can move when you're looking at something that tiny. Otherwise, you'll just get motion blur to no end, right? That might be why Olympus has some really good lenses with close focusing, because they do a lot of that, medical stuff where you have to get really close and magnify things. Oh, some people use it handheld. They'd have to use it with a flash. I can't imagine hand holding without a flash and doing macro work. Because then the flash can, fire at 1/5000th of a second and be the only light. I mean, there's techniques in macro that they probably use every skill they have. I don't think it's as simple as, yeah, I got this lens, bang, right? You'd have to really have a pretty high skill set to get a good image with that lens. And that's the misconception, right? With a lot of gear, they show you all this gear and all these professionals taking great images, and you feel like, oh yeah, if I get this camera, I can take images like that. And yeah, you can, but like I said, the 80-90% of the image is really the skill set of the photographer, not so much what the gear is. And I say that all the time. The higher level of your skill set in photography, the less the gear matters. And then John says, yes, they use a Canon macro flash normally. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, $1,000 is pretty normal price. Really, Rob? Wow. And then Brian Phillips says, macro should look at Jarrett Radford on YouTube. He's an Olympus visionary with a great character. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know Robin Wong does a lot of macro, but oh, I've seen this guy before. Hold on. This guy. I didn't know he... Actually, no, it's not. Oh, look, my video is right here. uh okay. That's cool. We'll check him out later. 591 subscribers. Wow. Not a big following. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, the Olympus 100 millimeter will probably be that price. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I just cannot be dropping $1,000 on lenses anymore. The Olympus 60 macro lens is good with extension tubes, and of course it has the advantage of in-camera stacking. Yes. Yeah, the 60 macro is definitely on my short list. I'm a little torn between that and a 40 to 150 Pro with a teleconverter. I feel like, because both those lenses, the 60 macro and the 40 to 150 with teleconverters, those are lenses that are kind of like, would be really nice to have, but it wouldn't be my go-to lenses day to day. It would just be lenses I would use once in a while. And that's really why I haven't bought them, because I'm not hardcore into wildlife sports action where I need a long lens, and I'm not heavy into macro either. But time to time I'd like to do those things and get decent shots versus, I don't know, and extension tubes and or my 40 to 150 kit lens get me close enough, right? I'm pretty happy with the shots I get with those two things without spending another, $1,000, $2,000 on glass. And Levente is asking, have I ever thought about doing something more profitable as a line of work? Not really. I mean, I just do what I enjoy. if I had some hardcore obligations where I didn't have a choice but to find a job that paid more, then yeah, I would do that. But I've just transitioned my life to where I really don't need a lot. You know, I try to minimize all of my overhead, so that I don't have to do anything that I don't want to make a living, right? Because people have some overheads that are so, I mean, you know, they got $2,000-3,000 a month house payments. They got, you know, $1,000 a month car payment, and you know, then you have wife and kids on top of that. It's like, wow, the overhead, right? uh, and then you're working 40 to 60 hours a week on top of that with only a couple of weeks vacation a year. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I'd rather just be poor, right? With a minimal lifestyle, but lots of free time, where I don't have to work too hard and I can just hang out with you guys and just talk about things we love, like photography and the YouTube channel, you know, do some videos on photography and, uh, you know, it's a different lifestyle. Like I said, it took me many years to transition to this kind of lifestyle because, yeah, I was really hardcore into the, you know, big homes, nice cars, and all of that. And it really, I wasn't any happier then. I'm happier now than I was back then, because back then I was working 60 to 80 hours a week, and it was it's too much. I would be very content with just a small home in the mountains. You know, it doesn't have to be hardcore log cabin, like off the grid. You know, I need internet, but something very simple, right? 1,000 square feet or less, near the mountains or near a lake or something, maybe in Tennessee or South Carolina, and just live a quiet life with very low overhead, and just go out and take pictures all day. And Rob says 1,000 is pretty normal for native AF lenses. I've heard that many of the third-party MF lenses are really good for a reasonable price. Yeah, I mean, if you're really into, unless you're really into it, right? You might as well get a third-party manual focus lens and try it, and you'll spend a fraction of the cost of a, uh, you know, an Olympus native lens. And if you're really into it, yeah, then you can justify the cost of spending, you know, 5 times more. Uh, but if you're not, you know, you may take a few pictures and say, yeah, you know, this is neat, but I don't want to do this every day, right? And Rob says, try putting 16mm extension tube on the 12 to 40. You can touch the, yeah, I've done that. I've done that. Yeah, it's, yeah, I've done that. And yeah, you can mess up your lens because you get so close. You get so close. I got so close. I had to take the lens hood off because I couldn't get close enough with the extension tube on it. I remember that. I don't do it anymore. But I have done that. And Roberto's asking, why would you put extension tubes on a 60 macro? Oh, just to magnify the, or increase the magnification that it already has. It's 1:1 now, so you can increase it maybe 1 to 5, you know, 1.5 to 1. I mean, you lose your infinity focus and all that, but you know, why not? And then Rob's asking, when you do photo walk videos, do you use an external mic? Yes. Lately I've been using this one, this Rode. I haven't done a review on this. I mean, reviews on my channel don't do well in terms of views and things. I'll do reviews time to time. Like I just did one on this thing. Where did I already put it away? Oh, this thing. I just did a review on this thing, which is okay. It works. It has some glitches, you know, in the software side, but I'll talk about this maybe on Thursday a little more if anybody asks about this. But I think this got like 100 views in 24 hours. It's like I don't know. Lately, my videos have been a little bit weak. I'm struggling to get even 1,000 views on a video. So I don't know. You know, when I talk about gear, yeah, then I break 1,000 views. But like my aperture, my exposure videos, you know, I haven't even broken 1,000 views yet, and they've been up for a couple of weeks. I thought the second one on stops was really good personally. I really like that video. And but yeah, but before that I used to use just this as far as we're doing photo walks. A lot of times you'll see this, right? You'll see this like in my photo walks where so if you see a photo walk with kind of this in my shirt, I'm using this, a VP10 on some of my older videos. Otherwise you'll see like a little lav mic pinned to my shirt, and then I'm using a wireless mic. Lately I've been using this one. I used to use this one. This is the Pro Asden XD. This was pretty good. But you know, when you compare the size, right, to the Rode, I just wanted something smaller. So that's why. But this worked pretty well. And it costs the same as the Rode. Anyway, so it's for wireless mics. That's what I do. But if you see this little thing sticking in my shirt, it's this, and then I have to sync it in post processing. This is really good at recording your voice for vlogging and things like that. It does a good job. Very low rustle noise and stuff. I've talked about this in other videos. And Levente's asked, well, this is why I got into web development. Flexible hours, pays really well compared to other jobs. Yes. Yeah, web development, things like that, that's for the young. I'm too old for that now. Things have progressed quite a bit, and now everything's going into like this cloud computing and platforms. Corporation-wise, that's small business web development and things like that, I think have gone to places like Squarespace and, you know, things like that, like already sort of do-it-yourself web design or web building. And then web development in of itself, I don't know, I just haven't looked at that job market lately. I did that a long time ago. I developed websites. So I learned HTML and PHP and built back-end systems for inventory and, you know, I used to be all into that programming stuff, but now it's just progressed so far that it's there's no way I'm going to be able to catch up or keep up with all the young people that are out doing that now, right? You guys are you guys have that learning ability. I'm just trying to remember what I know versus trying to learn something new most of the time. Hey Rob, have you ever been to the UK, and are there any other countries you'd like to visit for photography purposes? I have never been to the UK. I'd love to go, and I've never been. As far as other countries, I'm thinking like New Zealand would be really nice. So New Zealand and the UK for photography purposes. I hate traveling, honestly. I wish, you know, we could just push a button and beam over like in Star Trek and just be there. but the traveling part is that's I mean, for some people, yeah, traveling's no big deal. I used to travel a lot. I mean, every weekend I would be flying somewhere. But man, I'm so sick of it. I got so sick of it, especially after 9/11. Back in the last time I was on a plane, the last time I was on a plane, I believe was in 1998 or 99. And I have not traveled since. Uh, I think. Yeah, it's been like maybe 1997. I'd have to look. It's been so long. Actually, wait a minute. 1990. It was in the mid 90s. I haven't been on a flight since the mid 90s. Terry, living the dream. Yeah. Simple life is best. It's true. It can be a little lonely too though, right? In one sense. Cuz once you start getting out there, right? Like girlfriend, wife, whatever, uh, your overhead goes up quite a bit, both emotionally, mentally, financially. things get things go up a notch. So that's why I love dogs, right? Dogs are better than people, in my opinion. Uh, and John Softly says, or I'm sorry, Levente says, I'm not into expensive houses and cars, but I want to live decently with a family in a few years. Yeah, I think everyone has a different way they want to live, right? Some people like the hustle and bustle of a city and all the excitement and action, and I used to love the city for a few days, but then I said, okay, I'm done, right? Party's over. Uh, and anyhow, let's not get into that. It's fun to talk about, but there's a lot of people here I assume want to talk about photography. Lens cleaning. Clean the camera bag, blower, lens. Yeah, I do vacuum my bags with a regular vacuum cleaner sometimes. Um, and then throw them into the washer too, for that matter. At low speed. If you put it at high speed, it's going to jack up your washing machine, but a gentle cycle, right? David Yo, how are you? Greetings from Singapore. Getting my first telephoto lens. Cannot decide between 12 to 200 or 70 to 300. Any word of advice? By the way, I do own the 12 to 45 f4. Uh, I would I would get I would get the 70 to 300. The 12 to 200 is overlapping your 12 to 45 and only goes to 200 millimeters from there. The 70 to 300 is, I think it's a 75 to 300. Takes you all the way up to 300, obviously so. So I think that'll expand your photography more so than the 12 to 200. Because if you have a 12 to 200, why would you ever use your 12 to 45 other than you want sharper images? So now you're carrying two lenses that do essentially the same thing between 12 and 45, and then only a little more after that. Because the images get so soft on that 12 to 200 after you go over 100 millimeters anyway. So I would say the 70 to 300 would be a better choice. And right now it's on sale for like $399, brand new, at least here in the US. And that'll expand your photography a lot more. Then you can justify carrying both, right? You can carry 12 to 45 and a 70 to 300 at the same time. Whereas it seems silly to bring the 12 to 200 and a 12 to 45 at the same time. Because of that overlapping focal length. And Levante's camera stuff is really nice nowadays. Also, people aren't really getting into it. So beginner videos aren't really hot stuff. Yeah. Oh my God, Terry, thank you so much. Thanks, Tara. I appreciate that. And then Roberto says, can't go anywhere now. I know. And Christopher Mahon says, 98 over 99. Wow. What are you referring to? 98 over 99. You should go to Switzerland, then Lake, country, mountains, all on a stamp. Switzerland sounds nice. If I can't take my dog, I don't go. Yeah. I was so disappointed when I went to the Great Smoky Mountains. Most of the trails, you know, they don't allow dogs. So there's probably, I'll have to wait many years before, until my dog passes away. Then during the window between I get my next dog, I might try and do that. But yeah, I'm with you. If I can't bring my dog with me on a specific, you know, trip, I don't go. Other than, you know, other stuff like street photography, things like that. But yeah, for outdoor stuff, I really prefer taking my dog with me. And Levente is also recommending the 70 to 300. Like I said, I'm sure it's a 75 to 300 all the way. That's the way to go. And I hope that logic makes sense, right? Oh, you know, Rob is asking David if he has a 40 to 150, the kit lens f4, because that's also an excellent lens. I would almost recommend that over the 70 to 300, to be honest. It's like a quarter of the price because those go for $99 and it'll get you most of the way there. Roberto, gosh, Roberto, it seems like every week I hear a story from you about somebody yelling at you for taking pictures. What are you doing, man? I mean, I agree. It has been a little bit more hostile for street photography. But someone just posted in my forum, they had kind of a cryptic username, so I can't remember it now. They said he went out and people were very friendly to street photography. So he posted some shots on my forum that were really nice. But yeah, you know, I've seen it though, what you're talking about. It's, you know, because everybody's really paranoid now with photography and things. If you feel like, I don't know what's wrong with people. You know, when I see a person with a camera, I don't dodge them or anything. You know, I just wave or smile or whatever. Because, you know, I do photography too, right? So it's easy for me. I don't care if somebody takes my picture. What difference does it make? It's not like I'm anybody important that they would put my picture on a billboard and put some kind of message there that I would disagree with, right? And if they did, I could sue them. But, you know, I would imagine 99.999% of the photographers out there are just trying to capture a moment, right? Trying to capture a moment in time and keep that memory. And anybody getting their photo taken should be grateful for that they're going to be part of history, potentially, right? But, you know, a lot of people don't see it that way. They're like, why are you taking my picture, you creep, you know? So I feel like, you know, we should have a campaign for street photographers that, you know, people need to lighten up. It just doesn't make sense to me why people are so against it. Too bad smiling no longer works. Robin is really good. He smiles a lot. You know, I mean, he works really hard on his channel and he smiles a lot. I think that's part of his charm, you know. I don't smile much in my videos. I smile a lot on the streams, but not so much in the videos. Oh, okay, Music Sound Gear. We'll see you later. Don't worry about it. I need to end the stream here in a couple minutes because the next stream starts where I do the photo editing. I don't know. I can't remember who it was. They said I should try Affinity Photo, so I downloaded it on Sunday, and I installed it yesterday, Monday. I might do some editing today in Affinity Photo instead of the usual Workspace. And Jacques says the public's reaction to street photography reaction are definitely based on location. Yeah, I don't shoot people enough to get a feel for what's going on, but I know when you ask people, it seems like, yeah, I don't know. I've only asked really only a couple of people if I can take their picture. And my buddy Walter, he'll just take a picture of somebody. Like, he'll just walk up and take a picture. It just I you know I don't have the courage to do that, I should say. And Ron says Affinity is terrible for controlling highlights and opening shadows. Really? I played with it a little bit yesterday. It seemed okay, but I haven't really pushed the software. Yes, all the dogs there. You know, when I used to take pictures a lot at the dog park, people would see me there, 3-4 times a week or whatever. And I would always be taking pictures of my dogs and their dogs, etc. And they were pretty open to getting their pictures taken, although I never did really take pictures of people. But they got comfortable with me because I was the guy with the camera, right? And that's partially what inspired the name of the channel, this guy with a camera. And I think once people, I mean, I don't know if you can do that in a big city, but if you're going to the same location over and over again, people start to recognize you and ignore you. You just become part of the noise in that location, or part of the scenery, or whatever it is, wherever you are. So, oh, David says, I do not own the 40-150, but I'm looking for a focal length that offers slightly more reach, mainly for bird and flight, not much wildlife, as being in the city. Yeah, yeah, the 75-300 is not bad. You have to have good light, though. Really, really good light. And keep it wide open at f6.3 when you're on the long end, and you'll be okay. You know, I use it time to time, and in good light, the results are pretty decent. But as soon as the light starts to drop, man, it's struggling, because it's not a very sharp lens. And once you start getting into the higher ISOs, you can buy in a higher ISO with a lens that's already soft. That's double trouble. And Roberto says 99% of people are okay. Some people see a proper camera and think you're a professional. They are used to camera phones. Yeah. Yeah, I've only had a few incidents where people gave me a hard time for no reason, They thought I was taking a picture of kids, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm taking a picture of the building way over there. I didn't even see anybody, in the foreground, right? Because they're just like, I was using like a really wide angle lens. No, I wasn't. I was using my 12-40 Pro, and I was probably zoomed in to 40 millimeters if I remember correctly. But I wasn't focused at all on the foreground. People were little ants there. I was focusing on the building way off in the distance, doing my normal architectural stuff. And this lady was yelling at me, why am I taking pictures of kids? And I said, what are you talking about? And I looked in the field, and yeah, there's some people with strollers and pushing things, and I'm like, well, I don't care about that. If anything, I'll probably brush them out in the final image. But Yeah. Okay. I think I need to go. I need to start my next stream for live editing, where you guys send your pictures in and I edit them. You know, just having some fun with the photos, trying different things, maybe learning a little bit about photo editing in general, how I approach composition and lighting. So, and I also usually put a picture out for people to download one of mine, and you can edit mine. So I will move on to that stream. So if you want to join me there, I'll be there for about another hour or so. But thanks again for everybody coming in today and joining me. I always have a good time talking to you, and I appreciate all the feedback and questions as always. So I'll be back on Thursday. Hopefully see you all there on Thursday afternoon for me. No, go ahead and submit something, Roberto. I'll download it. If you can do it very quickly, I can download it. But okay, thanks again for joining me, everybody. Take care.